Capitol tonight one final time. It's a theory often mentioned in political circles that no Republican has won statewide office without the Conservative Party backing in more than 30 years. And while there are some who debate whether Row D has indeed provided the margin of victory in key GOP races, no one can deny that the traditional alliance between the two parties has been very important. And that's why Conservative Party Chairman Mike Long's decision to hold his convention before the Republicans caused a big stir. This was designed to pressure the GOP county chairs to get behind Law's preferred candidate, Rick Lazio. And while things did not play out quite as Long had planned, the outcome could impact this week's Republican candidate selection. Chairman Long is with us tonight from New York City. He's going to talk more about the convention that he just held on Friday. Chairman, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Liz? Before I respond to any question, let us not forget the meaning of today's Memorial Day, and never forget those who paid the supreme sacrifice of their lives for our freedom. So I salute to all the veterans and all the men and women who are serving our country and fighting for our freedom.
And you just came from a parade, did you not?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Memorial Day. Okay. I think my convention did turn out the way I expected it. I think Rick Lazio won the nomination of the Conservative Party. Greg Edwards became the Lieutenant Governor. And I think up and down between Joe Diaguardi for the United States Senate and Jay Townsend for the United States Senate and Danny Donovan for AG and Harry Wilson for Comptroller, I think the Conservative Party's put together a very good ticket.
Well, the support, however, for Rick Lazio was in the 53% range, and that is not exactly a resounding majority. It is sufficient to get him the permission known as a Wilson Pakula to run on your line, because he's not a conservative, of course. Same situation Steve Levy has with the Republicans, since he's still a Democrat technically. But you also have a situation where a guy named Ralph Lorigo, who's the Erie County Conservative Chairman, got enough support to primary. Was that expected? It seemed unexpected.
No, that was not unexpected at all. Once they realized that Steve Levy, you got to remember, these were the Suffolk County operation, John Kay, who's running for Lieutenant Governor, and once they realized they couldn't get enough support for Steve Levy, so therefore they decided between Steve Levy and the Palladino camp, they joined forces and ran two conservatives, which all you need is 25% to mount a primary campaign. And you know, this is not the first time the Conservative Party was faced with a Conservative Party primary. George Pataki, the first time he ran in 1994, we were faced with exactly the same formula, and everything turned out fine.
Yeah, that was actually a gentleman by the last name of Ralph, wasn't it? And Pataki.
Bob Ralph from upstate New York.
Yeah, and Pataki defeated him with more than 60% of the vote in your Conservative primary. Is that what happened in '94?
Yeah, I believe that was the outcome. And you know, my hope is that both Mr. Lorigo and John Kay, the Lieutenant Governor candidate, had indicated that they were just placeholders because they were of the opinion that Lazio was not going to win the Republican Party convention, and therefore I was making a mistake by having the convention early. I believe that Lazio is going to be victorious at the Republican Party convention, and if that happens, they both have committed, and hopefully they live up to their word, that they will step aside and rally behind the nominee of the Conservative Party, Rick Lazio.
But if for some reason this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out as the way that you have put forth, the difference between '94 and now is that Mr. Ralph didn't have very much money, if I remember correctly, and Lorigo seems to be allied with Palladino, who is independently wealthy. So couldn't there be a problem there by which there could be a primary that would actually block Rick Lazio from getting the conservative line?
Look, I believe it would give Mr. Lorigo a false sense of security, and I mean a false sense of security. Money doesn't buy everything. They're doing it if they stay in the race, they're doing it for the wrong reason. They're doing it not for the reasons of trying to turn the state around and fight for the taxpayers, as Mr. Lazio has made a commitment to do. Look, I supported Rick Lazio because I firmly believe in my heart that he is the right guy at the right time in the state of New York to turn this state around. He's not part of the Albany problem. Greg Edwards from his lieutenant governor candidate, another, I think, a real plus for the ticket. I think hopefully they understand that and do it for the right reasons, and that would be to step out of the way. I understand if Lazio doesn't get the nomination of the Republican Party, maybe they'd be within their justification rights of continuing to fight for the Conservative Party primary, but I don't see any need to do that.
Now, Ralph Lorigo put out a rather forcefully worded statement, and you know, he talked about wanting to save the Conservative Party. Are you worried that this is actually really a challenge to your chairmanship and your leadership of the party? You're the longest-serving political leader in New York right now.
Look, Ralph's a good guy, but in all honesty, for him to think that Ralph Lorigo and the guy named John Kay are really going to outpoll Rick Lazio in the November election on the Conservative Party line alone, I believe is they're really kidding themselves, or they're inhaling their own fumes, or they're trying to justify their reason while they're in there, and it sounds good to some people. It sounds good that Mike Long is taking the party down the wrong road. Mike Long doesn't make decisions based on what's good for Mike Long. Mike Long makes decisions what's good for the people of the state of New York. Mike Long tries to make decisions what is the best interest of the Conservative Party. I love this party, and I've been a member of it since 1964, 2 years after it got started. And I think I've had effective leadership, and there are many times Ralph and John Kay have stood by my side. My hope is they eventually will realize what road they're on and turn around and come back home and stand shoulder to shoulder with me for the Conservative Party.
Now, can we talk
Rick Lazio
just briefly about the U.S. Senate races? I think a lot of the Republicans were surprised the way that you guys went. You went with a former Westchester County Representative, Joe DeAguardi, a former congressman from Westchester County, whose claim to fame is that his daughter is an American Idol judge. And then after that, you went with a guy named Jay Townsend, who we've had on this show, a GOP consultant who wants to challenge Chuck Schumer. Not many people know who he is. What was your thinking here? And it looks like you could end up with, again, different candidates than the Republicans do in these two Senate races.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen, because the Republicans would be making a mistake. Look, Joe DeAguardi earned the United States Senate nomination in the Conservative Party, and he earned it, I think, in the Republican Party. He has... He's the first guy that I saw campaign the same way Al D'Amato did back in 1980. He was at every location, every county in the state of New York. So therefore, I think he won the Conservative Party nomination hands down because of his own efforts. And I believe he did the same amount of effort in the Republican Party, and they'd be very foolish, because I think he'll bring out a very strong vote, and he represents the little guy in the state of New York, the guy who's going to fight in Washington for the right purposes to bring down the size of this government. Jay Townsend, while you're right, not a lot of people know him, but they're going to know him when he gets done with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, he's going to be Chuck Schumer's worst nightmare. He's an articulate, well-thought-full speaker, and he knows the issues inside and out.
Now, just one last question about DeAguardi. I remember he actually ran briefly against Hillary Clinton as the Conservative Party candidate in 2000, and then stepped aside when Rick Lazio got into the race because Rudy Giuliani wasn't running on the Republican line. How much of your decision to back him this time around was because of his willingness to step aside those years ago?
Joe DeAguardi did the conservative movement a great favor when when it appeared there was going to be no one else to run. He stepped forward and was willing to carry the Conservative Party banner against Hillary Clinton and possibly Rudy Giuliani at the time. When Rudy didn't run, Rick Lazio got back into the race. I sat down with Joe DeAguardi, and he was willing for the cause of the Republican Party and the Conservative Party to unite behind Rick Lazio. That's why I'm hopeful that that certainly the conservatives owe him a great debt of gratitude, but so do the Republican Party when they when Rick Rosio ran against Hillary Clinton. So my hope is the Republican Party remembers that he got out of the way for them once before. They should rally behind him now and move forward with Joe DiGuardi for the United States Senate.
So, Chairman, I understand that you are going to be on hand at the Sheraton with the Republicans for their big dinner, and we will be there too, and I'll be looking for you. Thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks. Nice being with you.